Hey, greetings! Welcome back to Sean's Irish Whiskey Shelf, coming at you from the heart of the United States out here in the Midwest. And before I get started this evening, a very important date passed us by earlier this month, and I didn't even realize it. It was on November 4th of last year that I filmed my first video. So we've made it a year together. And I know this growth has been a little bit slow. There haven't been a whole lot of subscribers, but there have been a whole lot of views. And for that, I'm very appreciative. I want to thank everybody who has taken the time to check out my channel and who have subscribed. And, I'm having fun. I have learned an awful lot about Irish whiskey since I started doing this. I hope that we've had a good sort of journey together, that maybe some of what I have tried here on the channel you've been able to take and use that information to find some Irish whiskey that you like or maybe dislike. So, 1 year down, man, I sure hope we have a lot more to go, because this is great. This is fun. And I know my wife doesn't always get it. She seems to think that I have plenty of Irish whiskey on these shelves behind me here, but I think there's room for more. What do you think? So, yeah, there'll be some more additions coming up. And usually those additions do come from hard to find whiskey, which you can find right down there, htfw.com. They're my new favorite retailer, other than around town here. Out here in Iowa, it's a little bit more controlled as to what whiskeys, actually what alcohol, any alcohol that a retailer can sell. So they don't get a whole lot of leeway in what they can purchase. So I do have to look elsewhere sometimes. But as always, I also give a shout out to Nick. He's the local manager, or the manager at a local retail outlet. He takes care of me, and if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have gotten started with this here in town. So anyway, enough chit chat about that. I was really struggling trying to figure out what I wanted to do this week, and it's one of those things where how do you compare two whiskeys that are really good? I've talked before, folks, about the fact that Tullamore D.E.W is my go-to, my everyday sipper. Bushmills, usually Bushmills White, is also an everyday sipper for me. They're both priced about the same. They're both fantastic drops of whiskey. And I mean, you can't go wrong with either of them. So looking back on the shelf, I realized that they each have a single malt product. They're both priced very competitively and very similarly to each other. You should be able to get both of these for, I don't know, $65 to $80, somewhere in there. So you're not going to break the bank, but you're going to get some good aged single malt whiskey. So I thought, you know what, tonight, let's just try them together. We've tried them apart once before. Let's see what happens if we try them together and see if one shines above the other. I'm going into this with no preconceived notions. I'm going into this thinking, man, this is probably going to be difficult, because I do like both of these brands and haven't found anything from either of these two brands that I really and truly dislike, with one exception. The Tullamore D.E.W rum cask finished Irish whiskey was just not my palate, but then again, I don't really like rum that much anyway. So that single bottle so far has been one that I haven't really liked. So let's jump into this here. So we'll start with Bushmills. So Bushmills, this is a 12-year single malt whiskey, and we're looking at 40% alcohol. So you're looking at 80 proof. Now, what makes Bushmills a little bit different than most other whiskeys that we're going to look at. It is matured in bourbon barrels. We see that all the time. It's matured in Oloroso sherry butts. We see that all the time. But then they finish it off in Marsala casks. And very few Irish whiskeys actually go that route. And I think that's what you're going to find is a difference between these two bottles. This is finished in Marsala casks. Tullamore D.E.W is finished in Madeira wine casks. And you're going to see the Madeira wine casks a lot more than you'll see the Marsala. So let's take a sip of the Bushmills 12-year single malt. And of course, I know some of my viewers are going to say, well, you don't really like single malt. You've said that before. It's not my favorite, but it's growing on me. Okay, I'm starting, as I've done this, I'm getting a new appreciation for single malt. So, cares to the wind, folks. Here we go. Bushmills 12-year single malt. That's a really good drop of whiskey. It's got some nice complexities to it. Again, my blue collar palate, we talk about this every show. My blue collar palate isn't going to tell you all the different vanillas and almonds and buttered bread, all that good stuff. But here's what I can tell you. It's not objectionable. For a single malt whiskey, I wouldn't turn my nose up at it. I would drink this anytime, anywhere. And I think all of the different flavors in there really bring about a nice, complex sort of profile to it. It's interesting. And it's interesting enough that I want to go back for more. For an aged single malt whiskey, a 12-year single malt whiskey that you can pick up in the $70 range. Let's just say $75 range. That's really pretty good, folks. So if you haven't tried this yet, you probably should. Over here to Tullamore D.E.W. Now, this is a 14-year-old single malt whiskey. This is, 41.3% alcohol. So you're looking at 82.6 proof. And again, finished in not Marsala, but Madeira. Yep. Bourbon, Oloroso, sherry, port, and Madeira. So take a little bit of a different direction on finishing this. But Tullamore D.E.W is a good whiskey. It really is. So let's take a sip of this and see how it goes. Now, see, to me, in my, again, somewhat blue-collar, uneducated palate, I don't find the complexities of this one to be nearly as exciting as the complexities here. This isn't bad. All right, so let's get that straight right from the jump. This is not a bad single malt whiskey. Not at all. But I don't think it's quite as good as the Bushmills. I was reading some reviews online, and there was one review that compared Tullamore and Bushmills. And I think having tried this and thinking back to their standard blended whiskey, I think it actually rings kind of true. Tullamore is perhaps a little less complex. So if you are giving someone a drop of whiskey who has never had Irish whiskey before, they might find Tullamore D.E.W to be a little more pleasurable. You can get them kind of hooked that way get them to really say, "Oh man, this is a really good, yeah, this is a really good whiskey." And then once they're used to that, you can then take them to the next step, to a Bushmills, where you have a little more complexity. And now you can wake up their taste buds even more. I think I find that is absolutely the case here. I think this Bushmills is more complex. There's more of a playful mixture of different tastes that really comes to life. Yeah, I really think that that's very interesting. And see, the Tullamore D.E.W, it just seems a little more one-dimensional. Um, they both have a nice single malt overall flavor to them. But I can't help but think that the Bushmills takes it here. I think the Bushmills, if you are an experienced drinker, if you are looking for something that is going to um, be, I hate to say it, but it's just the way it is, more interesting, more complex, you want the Bushmills. The Tullamore D.E.W, again, like I said, it's a fine drop of single malt whiskey, but I just don't think it's quite up there with the Bushmills when it comes to the nuances of the different flavors. So there you have it, folks. That is my honest opinion. I would get either of these two anytime. I really would. And if I came to your house and you said we're going to have a drop of one of these together, then by golly, we're going to have a drop together. I would not snarl my nose at either of them. But if I had my $75 and I had to buy one of these, it would be Bushmills. I really do believe that this is the hands down winner over the Tullamore. And it's too bad because I do have a soft spot for Tullamore. But yeah, there's no competition here in my book. So anyway, that is all I have for you this evening. I do really hope that you liked this video and you got something out of it. And if you did, please just take a second, go down there in that little corner and click the thumbs up button. That would mean a lot to me. And if you're not already subscribed, hey, go over to the other corner, you click on the subscribe button. And if you want, then you can click the bell and you'll be notified when I do a new video. And I do try to do them about once a week because I have fun doing this. There's 102 bottles of whiskey behind me now. And like I said at the opening of the show, I've learned an awful lot. I've got so much more to learn, and we're going to do it together. Every single one of these bottles either has been tasted or will be tasted, and there's a lot more out there that we still need to get, and we're going to taste them together. So, look, until we meet again, I want you to enjoy your Irish whiskey, because any reason to have a drop of Irish whiskey is a great reason. And here on the front side of the Thanksgiving weekend here in the United States, after you're done with the turkey, you're sitting around with the family. Maybe you want to pour yourself a good Irish whiskey. You got your red breasts, you got your spots. Heck, we've even talked about Waterford the Cuvée. That would be an excellent after dinner whiskey, I believe. So pour yourself a nice drop of whiskey, enjoy the evening, enjoy the weekend. But remember, folks, do it safely so you can be here next time I do a video. Okay? So that's it. I want you to be well and be safe. Sláinte. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye now.